Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is your girl Mpo. If you are new here, hey sis, what is good? If you didn't subscribe, thank you so much for constantly watching my content. So on today's video, I'm starting a new series where I'm going to call it the Young Wife Chronicles, where I am going to document some of my opinions, some of the things that have happened to me, and some of the things that I wish I knew earlier or had accepted earlier that probably would have changed some of the things that I went through. But also just to share some of my own experiences, and also if you are a young wife going into marriage or thinking about getting married, this series is for you. I normally gravitate towards relationship content, especially long-term relationships, because that's what I've always sort of been in. I've never really had short-term relationships, for lack of better words. So this content is basically for people who enjoy being in long-term relationships and know just the amount of work that needs to go or that goes into being in long-term relationships. And if you do not prefer that kind of content, then please kindly skip this video. Don't get pressed about anything, especially if this is not the kind of lifestyle that you like, And with that said, I'm not saying people who are in short-term relationships there's anything wrong with that. I'm not one to judge other people's decisions. I think we all make the decisions that we think are best for us, and that's why I just want to highlight that these are solely my own opinions, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just merely documenting my own experiences, and as with experiences, things do change. You learn more along the way. So I could change my mind about some of the things that I'm talking about now, 2-3 years from now, or next week, who knows, And that's why I think that's why I'm calling it a series, is because I could come back next week and reference this video and say, you know what, from somebody else's opinion, I now see things a certain way. But I'm just going to share on this first episode of the Young Wife Chronicles why I got married young, and how I actually got to the decision of deciding to get into marriage at 24. So a little background is I started actively dating, doing the deeds and everything when I was 18 going on 19. So my first long-term relationship was with the guy that was unfortunately very abusive, and at the time I think it was because I was very naive. I've always been someone who's very genuine. If I like something, I like it, and if I don't like something, I don't like it. And I've always had genuine interests, if that makes sense. I just liked you for who you were. I liked you for how you make me feel. For me, I've never been in a relationship that was because of ulterior motives like money or anything like that. I just liked being with somebody who's gonna make me laugh, who makes me happy, someone who shares the same interests as me, someone who shares the same values or wants to grow and all of that. So I think I've always gravitated towards family orientated people, because I think I'm one person who's very family orientated. I've never been for the streets. One thing about me, and that's something, somebody can try and debate, but for me, I've never been one person who was for the streets. One of the reasons being that I think because life wasn't very fast there, there wasn't a lot of things like nohosi busy, and as much as I did a lot of things, my biggest fear growing up was falling pregnant young. I think this comes because my mom had me when she was young, and I think seeing how and what she went through raising us, I always just thought to myself that I would never have a child out of marriage, for one, but also because I always knew at the time, growing up, I had a certain body type, small tummy and a little bit of a exterior, so I always found that guys always saw that before they saw me. They saw my exterior first before they saw me. And I understood that that's not really what I wanted in a person. I wanted someone who saw beyond my exterior and actually was interested in me because they thought I was intelligent, or they thought that, oh my gosh, there's just something about her besides how I looked. So growing up, I didn't get a lot of that. I always thought guys were after one thing, which was the obvious, you know. And I think because Nikinali mentality, or it helped me not to date around too much, because I thought for me that was something I treasured so much. My virginity was something that I treasured a lot, and I just thought to myself, I wasn't just going to do it with anyone just for the sake of doing it, you know. So as I was growing up, I did have a lot of friends who, you know, were a little bit more faster and slightly more developing quicker than me, let's say. And what I realized was, if we were sitting with a group of guys, right? And a little bit of a tomboy, you know. So guys would say a lot of things about my friends, you know, like how they smashed and all of that. And from that, I just knew I never wanted to be one of those girls where a group of guys could actively sit together and say they passed me around, you know. No, that wasn't going to be me. And I decided actually at a very young age that was not going to be me. And I was always going to date people who I liked and not who everybody thought I should date. So if he was odd or people thought, that was normally the kind of guys that I gravitated towards, because I knew they weren't as fast and as advanced as most of the popular guys. Cool. So after my first long-term relationship, that's when I realized, you know what, I'm more of a long-term girl than I am a date here and there and everywhere kind of girl, you know. And if I look around, I would say that my body count, guys, I could probably count the guys that I've been with on one hand. And that's not to brag or anything, but that's just to show you guys the kind of person that I've always been. So after my first long-term relationship, I got into another long-term relationship before I met my husband. And that was also nice. He was a very nice guy, and we really gelled quite well. Then obviously I met my husband, but then I couldn't live with him, and he met me at my peak stoteness. You know, that's where I was experimenting quite a lot. I was like exploring, dating other people, and to this day, that's something I'm not embarrassed about, because I feel like I needed to go through that to get to where I am now. So like I said, I dated around and I enjoyed it, you know. I enjoyed the attention, I enjoyed the thrill, but also I enjoyed doing a lot of things by myself. I went out by myself, I did a whole lot of things by myself. And I think it gets into a lot of independence, that to say, you know what, actually I don't have to be in a relationship for guys to do certain things for me. I can just do that myself, and I could just go into a relationship and just expect someone to love me just for who I am. Okay, cool. So I'm 21, 22 now, and I'm deciding, you know what, now I want to focus on this relationship. I was double dating at the time. As embarrassing as it is, I was double dating at the time, but then I decided, you know what, life is straight. Life is straight, and that's when I decided. And I'll tell you why I decided that. Nah, there was something genuine about my husband that I just couldn't put my finger on. For example, when he would mention any form of growth in his life, he would include me. Like, I see us moving into what, you know, I see us driving whatnot. And it was that feeling of this person is including me without me having to ask her, like, what's going on. He always included me. He always made me feel like he sees the future with me. He gets. And I think I was drawn to that, and I was like, you know what, let me stop the double dating and let me focus on this nigga, because we're vibing and it's all good. So I decided to finally focus on my nigga. And we date, and it's all good and everything. Then he proposes. The first time he proposed to me, we were in Durban. We had actually gone out on vacation. We were sitting on the beach and we're talking, we were having drinks. I think it was like in the morning. I don't remember, like in the morning or whatever. But yeah, we were sitting on the beach and he digs out this little box in the sand. And he proposes to me, tells me, yo, Utile, I love you. I think you're a good person. I think you and I make a great couple. And I want to make it official. At that time, I think I'm like 22. 22? Yeah, I'm 22. Or 21, going on 22. And I'm thinking to myself, nigga, bro, like, are you for real? No. And I said, no, I kindly decline. Like, I know it's such a romantic proposal, right? Imagine on the beach and it's just the two of us and there's the ocean water flowing and it's a romantic setting. But I had to be honest with myself. I wasn't ready then, you know, and I still felt like I had unfinished business with life. I had unfinished business with life, and man, I'm not going to get married just because you love me. For me, that wasn't enough at the time, you know. I needed more. I wanted more, you know. And that was the first proposal I turned down. He didn't act awkward after that. Funny enough, we still went on and enjoyed our vacation for the few days that we were together, and we went home. We came back home to Joburg, and you know, we still continued dating like nothing happened. And I remember this one time, we had gotten into a huge fight, and I said to him, you know what, like, I'm done, bro. Like, if it is. And the other thing about me is I don't want to say I was self-centered, but I was very like, it's about me, which I feel is something that's very important. In your 20s, it is about you. It's a me show, you know. And when we started dating, I think I made that very, very, very clear that it's a me show. It's about me, you know. You can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, again, like not in the final say. And the show, yeah, guys, it's the Umpo show, and you just have to make a boy because we don't that, you know. And I don't feel bad about that because I still think in your early 20s it should be about you. I mean, he had his fair share of his 20s where he was doing whatever he was doing, and it was a me show, you know. And I don't feel bad about it, you know. So after this breakup that I initiate, we break up, and I remember I was on my way to work, and he's like, please meet me at parking lot of a KFC. There was this KFC in Alberton where we would regularly meet, and he's like, he's got a ring. He's like, yo, he's like shaved and everything. He's crying. He's like, yo, will you marry me and whatnot? I'm like, yo, bro, I will not. And that was the second proposal that I turned down. Guys, I always felt like if I was to get married or whatever, it would be on my own terms. You know, if we were going to get married or if we were going to date long term, it would be on my terms because I wanted it and not because he's the one who wanted it and I'm just going along with it, you know. So I think my being very stern in who I am and what I wanted at the time is what helped me to not just say, okay, he's got a good job and everything, just go for him, you know. I was like, no, sir. We're not doing that. I don't want to get married. I'm still living my best life. I'm 21. Yeah, but I wasn't 21 at the time. Was I like 22, 23? I come home. I do what I want, whenever I want, however I want. And you want to take that away from me, sir? No, that's not what we're doing. And I still said no. I said no, and that didn't stop him from pursuing me and dating me. And in between all of that, there was a lot of toxicity. But I think also because I had just come out of a long-term relationship that was very toxic. The first relationship that I was in, guys, I think it affected a lot mentally. It took away my confidence, stripped me off of who I thought I was, you know. I became very unsure of myself. So now you can imagine I'm 23, like it's the me show. It's all about me. Important, you know, I started working, and though I wasn't making a lot of money, but I'm independent now, you know. School is finally paying off, and I'm just happy, you know. And I didn't want anyone to take that away from me, and I felt like had I gotten married then, it would have taken away from the freedom that I needed to have at that time. Okay, cool. So finally, yeah, I don't want this video to be super long. So finally, he proposes for the last time. He didn't even propose, guys. He's like, you know what, I've got money, bro, and you and I have been dating for a long time, and at this point we're living together. It's like, you and I are living together. I'm uncomfortable, and they know that we're living together, but I haven't paid anything for you, you know. Of which now I've had the conversation with my mom, and my mom's like, oh, but the Joa Mahala, like ghetto, very ghetto, but yeah, she said that, and I was like, okay. Then he's like, yeah, I've got this money, bro, and we've been living together. Oh, okay. I go home, I tell my parents, well, which was my mom. No, actually, I told my grandmother first. Then she told my mom. Then that's how everything just came together, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, we get married, and it's nice. Lockdown. We're spending a lot of time together, and it's nice, you know. The next series obviously will be on like unpacking the first and second year of marriage, but for the most part everything was going well until, yes, we did hit a lot of roadblocks in the way. And had it not been for his family and my family and our priest and our pastor for like intervening, I don't think we would have made it. But that's also like, you know, on the next series. But now I'm just saying to you, what I think you should be looking out for in a long-term partner, and some of the things that I've learned along the way, right? So when it comes to what to look for in a person, I would genuinely say, you know, there are some characteristics that are never changing. Who a person is, guys, can change today or tomorrow depending on the circumstances. You know, I can be a happy, bubbly person until maybe I experience death or loss or financial instability or something like that. Then I could probably change. But if I'm a kind person and I'm a genuine person, those are some of the characteristics that just don't change. That's who I am. That's the core of my being. So I would say in a guy, look for some characteristics that are never changing. For example, if someone is a family orientated person, as much as as much as they could lose their job and everything, that could never change, because that they have a special relationship with family and they hold their family in high regard. So that's one of the characteristics that I would say look out for. Not even look out for, because we don't want the same things, right? But that's why I'm saying look for characteristics that are never changing, you know, except that we are people and we are flawed. I think that had I known that and accepted that earlier, I wouldn't have gone through some of the things that I went through. You know, I wouldn't have been as hard on my husband as I was had I just accepted that we are all flawed human beings. And as much as you can find error in the next person, you yourself are flawed. You know, we go through things and experience changes us as people, but also accept that we're all going to make mistakes and nobody is perfect, you know. And I think that's one of the things I wish I would have accepted quite early on, is nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect, he wasn't perfect, but it's about two people who are imperfect and want to be imperfect together. That's the most important thing, you know. Look out for how a person was raised. It will always show, it will always reflect, even in the small things, how they talk, how they hold themselves, how they participate in a group setting, who they are at work, or how their friends experiences them. All goes down to how that person was raised. So those are kind of the flags that you need to be looking out for. I'm not sure about how they were raised. Then you could question how they were raised, but simply observing someone's behavior and how they talk and how other people talk about them is how you can actually learn. I'm not sure. You know, those are some of the things that don't change, you know. Find some characteristics that are similar to the things that you value. Like I said, for me, it's family oriented. I like people who are kind and genuine. I don't want moto or fake. I go at moto or pretentious. I don't like someone who's going to pretend. You know, if you're broke, you're broke. It's fine. Those are things to do. Like, you know, I'm not gonna come here and now expect someone to never be broke or always have money and all of that. Like, that for me is it's a small thing. It's a small contributing factor, you know. But I look for things like, are you empathetic? When I'm crying, when I feel like I'm emotional, can I share and offload on you? And can you equally do the same thing? How do you communicate? Now, for one, with me, I've never been a good communicator. I don't want to say I've never been, but communication is my strong suit, all right? And I realized that quite late in the relationship that, you know what, you communicate not necessarily how the other person would appreciate you communicating, you know. And I think that's something that I've had to work on, is my communication skills. So look at how you and this person are communicating. Is it aligning with who you are at your core being, you know? And another issue, guys, believe if you're going to be in a long-term relationship, guys, you're going to be so tested. You are going to need to turn to something, to someone, you know. And even if it's not a physical being, but if, let's say, both of you are Christians, you can equally read the Bible and pray about it. If you believe in your ancestors, you can equally come together. If you believe in the sun and the stars, you can, I don't know, wait for a full moon and call to the moon. Or I'm not necessarily trying to pick on a certain belief, but I'm just saying it helps when you guys believe in the same thing, because it just makes the relationship so much easier, especially when you have challenges, is because you can come together and look for a source of strength from that common thing or common place of belief, you know. Actually, and I wrote some of the things down, so let me just try and get my diary. Another thing is, know who you are. Ikiti, so that you don't find that when you come into a long-term relationship, you are basically just mirroring yeah, I think that's a word, mirroring your partner, right? I know who I am, I know what I like, I know the kind of life I want to live, you know. So it's very easy for me to say, no, I don't want to do that because it's not aligned with what I want to do. It's not aligned with who I am or the principles that I carry for myself as a human being. But if I don't know that, then it's easy to just go with anything, you know. It's easy for one person to say, yeah, and then so be very stern and know who you are. It's going to help you so much in your long-term relationship or in your marriage, because knowing who you are is the core and the foundation of your being. So I think that's another important factor. Just know who you are, right? And be on the same page about everything. I think this is one of the most important things in a long-term relationship or in early stages of marriage, is tentatively on the same page, guys. Hey, I'm telling you, when it comes to family and external people, it's so easy for external people to get or come in between you guys, right? Remember, guys, the devil works overtime. He really does, right? So if you do not get on the same page and quick, guys, you're still going to fight. Why? Because there's going to always be outside influences. Somebody's going to say no, somebody's going to say this. But if you and your partner are not on the same page, or are not, like, how can I, in a marriage you need to be go page 2, gonna go 1 can be go page 10 and 1 go page 2, because that's where conflict arises, you know. So always be on the same page with your partner. The last thing, because I don't want this video to be very long, the last thing is, it's okay to talk about it. And I think this is one of the things I accepted, I think only this year. It's okay, you know, if I go through something in my marriage and I want to share what has happened to me, that is okay. We don't have to keep gatekeeping information. Okay, like in 1990, guys, we can share our experiences and our opinions of things, and maybe that's how we can all find solutions to our problems. Because I feel like with marriage or long-term relationships, it's easy to feel very lonely. It's easy to feel like, oh, it's embarrassing, but only to find that it's such a common thing. It happens to the most of us, you know. It happens to, or it's an experience we can actively talk about and grow from, you know. So it's embarrassing. Trust and believe, you're not the only person who has gone through that. There's literally nothing new under the sun. Even the Bible says so. There's nothing new under the sun. Whatever you're going through, somebody has gone through that. Whatever you're thinking, somebody has thought that. There's nothing. especially like, for example, when you do your research, that's when you realize, or like, there's nothing new under the sun. We just keep recycling information, and I think that's important. We need to get to a place where we can openly talk about things that are taboo, or things that you think are taboo, but quite honestly, it's such a common thing, you'd be surprised, you know. So these are some of the things that I think have helped me in my long-term relationship, because now I think we've been together for like 7 years. As much as we've been married for like 2, almost 3, but we've been together for 7 years. So my darling, there's a lot that you see, and there's still a lot that we're going to unpack. So yes, this is the first episode of the Young Wife Chronicles, and let me know if you guys are buying into the series or if I should just stop it here and there. I probably won't, even if you think I should, but I probably won't. But I think we should be able to talk openly about certain things. Man, we don't talk about things and we're embarrassed and we're not. The more experiences we can share, the more people we can help, you know, and the more people don't have to feel like I'm alone and they're going through things by themselves, because quite honestly, we all go through more or less similar experiences, and the more we talk about it, the better. So yeah guys, this brings us to the end of our first episode. So don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment in this comment section, my lady, and I will talk to you guys, or I will see you guys on the next video. Mwah.